Yeah. You already know. Kappa Kappa. Young millionaires. The general. Okay, I wake up every day, I'm feeling good, I'm feeling great. Every day I'm getting paid, man, this life is going great. I just wanna celebrate, I made it in and out of state. $1 million in the case, I got it hidden somewhere safe. I multiply all my millions and really I am extremely wealthy. I distributed my millions with my family. This is just the beginning, I purchased a Lamborghini. Driving around the city, believe me, you haven't seen me. Made it through all the struggle, defeated all of my rivals. I was never entitled, I had to fight for survival. Man, this life is amazing, it's crazy the way we made it. Now I'm living my dreams and I'm burning, just getting started. Through the struggle back when I was very worried. Now I'm chilling, get my kind on Lamborghinis and Bugatti. I know you in a hurry, but I promise don't be worried. When you see me in the club, I probably got enough to party. I'm a multi-millionaire, getting money everywhere. I ain't tripping on nobody, I just came to celebrate. Yeah, we got the party popping, got the general over here, throwing money in the air, cause we get it every day. I multiply all my millions, now me and my people winning. Moving city to city, I promise that you will see me driving a Lamborghini, but this is just the beginning. $1 million Bugatti, I'm stacking money in the ceiling. Multiply all my millions, now me and my people winning. Moving city to city, I promise that you will see me driving a Lamborghini, but this is just the beginning. $1 million Bugatti, I'm stacking money in the ceiling.
The Truth Podcast, live here with the Big John. We got the Winston. We're lacking Nikki G. She's out making some money. She's out working out there with the Big Saul out there. What's up, guys? How's it all going today?
What's going on, man? It's going good. It's going good. How are you?
Still alive and kicking, I guess, and all the chaos that takes place in the world. Hopefully we'll get a little bit more normalcy here hopefully in a week or so.
Yeah, it was a tragedy was going up in Washington and people just getting all crazy and shit. But hopefully we get back to normal. I hope people get back to doing positive things, right? Focusing on positive things, not focusing on trash, I call the trash talk. If you're going to watch make-believe shit, watch WWE. You know what I mean? That's what you got to stick to. Or watch soap operas. You know what I mean?
That's you.
You know what I mean? You get used to it, but a lot of people are out there doing some stupid shit. But yeah, it's not for me. But today, I got something positive. Today's topic's going to be epic as hell. And it's crazy because we've talked about this, and the topic today is what really is commitment? What really is commitment? And we're going to talk about what's really commitment in business, personal relationships. That goes to friends, romantic relationships. But what is it, right? And so I'm going to start off with what I think, I'm going to lay this topic down, is the key to any relationship is common interest or a commitment or a goal, right? Understanding the purpose of the partnership or what the purpose is. Huge, right? Huge in anything you're doing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off in the topic of business, right? When you're in business, and it doesn't matter what you're going to do. If you're going to start off a small business, you're going to sell candies door to door, you have to know what is the purpose, why am I doing this, and what's going to be my map, right? Why am I going to do this? Before you do this, And the crazy part is the majority of people that start at any of these paths actually don't have a clear map, don't have a clear purpose, right? So they're going to commit to something they don't even know what they're committing to. So how can you measure it? You guys feel me on that?
I get you. Can you turn me up a little bit, John?
Yeah.
There. I think that's better.
Yeah.
So I think the what I was talking about is, so in the business aspect, right? I've been mentoring a lot of people when it comes to business, and no matter what size it is. And one of the crazy part is that we never have a goal, and so they could be doing good, and they actually have gone down the path, and it's like, well, I just want to continue making money. That doesn't make any sense. What does that mean to me? Right? What does that mean to you? Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, what's the growth? What are we trying to do? And then in that sense, how's it going to affect your family? What are you going to do all together? Mm-hmm. So the kind of subject that I'm going to touch about is just according to me, right? Is when you're in your personal relationships and your business, are you setting your goals, or are you talking about the commitment of what it's going to take for both to survive at the same time, right? Most individuals don't understand this. So if they're saying, I'm going to go start a business and I have 3 kids and a wife and all this, and they're going to be gone for 80% of the time,
right?
Did the wife sign up for that, right?
Yeah, it's you have to set that expectation too. Right. And a lot of things too, I think, it's along the same thing as a lot of people don't plan so far out, because everyone nowadays, it seems like they love the aspect of owning a business, right? Oh yeah, you're a business owner, you make a shit ton of money and you get tax benefits and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, but do you really understand what goes into it, right?
And all the sacrifices that you have to make.
Yeah, of course.
I see it from a coaching perspective. I see parents that, they just drop their kids off and then they're back to their grind, but it affects their kids, it completely affects their kids, so it's almost that what kind of relationship, what kind of sacrifices am I willing to make to take that, to take on that? Because you can't part-time either of them.
No, not at all. And that's the thing is you need to understand what you're signing up for. And then if you are involving, a spouse or kids or anything, you have to get their buy-in to make sure that they're going to be, number one, there to support you and not there. Because when you're busting your ass in a business, man, that shit is stressful. It's mentally exhausting at first, right? Mm-hmm. And then even when you're a big business, there's stuff that's going to go south and it's going to mentally test you. So, and then last thing you want to do is come home to your wife or girlfriend or kids or whatever pissed off at you about, oh, you're never here and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, then you're carrying 2 times the weight, right? Yep. And then what that starts doing is relaying into your mental health. Your business is going to probably go down shit's creek. Your relationship, your family's probably going to, and then it just goes into the whole thing.
Or you're going to become super angry, right? You're going to be an angry person.
Oh, well, then what ends up happening, even though Jeff Bezos isn't hurting, is she gets half your shit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then you have to, okay, so now half my business is gone. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So, I think that's something that I think, especially you're in your 20s and you have a great grasp of that already, but I don't think most young people do. No. They have all these stars in their eyes, whether it's, I want to get married, but then I also want to start a business and I also want to do all the, well, it's rare that people are able to survive both,
It is. And that's an expectation that I've had to set in the past. I would be somewhere at dinner or I'd be at the movies and my phone's ringing and it's like, do I have to pick this up? No, I don't. But it's like at the same time, this is my business that I'm running. So I'm jetting out and picking the phone up. Yeah. And that was an expectation.
You've told us that you've left dinners before.
I've had
meals,
to do it, and that's an expectation that I've had to set, and that's the same thing. It relates to anything. And I relate a lot of things to the fitness game, but like, even when I have friends and things that would compete, right? And their family's almost pissed off because they're at Thanksgiving or they're at a family event and they have a Tupperware of food or they're not eating at all. And, are they supporting the individual on their goals? But it seems like they almost don't understand it. And they push them more to say, oh, I don't know why you're doing this. It's so stupid. It's not even healthy for you, blah, blah, blah. And then you constantly are getting that negative feedback on you. And then you're like, then sometimes people will say, why the hell am I doing this? And then they actually make the decision to go back on something that they actually wanted to do based off of others' statements. You know what I mean?
And that's great. Today talking about what's commitment, right? Mm-hmm. So if you don't know your self-commitment, but this is the thing is, right, when you're involving a lot of people, I read this one thing that's awesome. My coach talked about this, and Tony Robbins. And he would say, you know what, if you're going to date somebody or even become friends with them, you should have that one coffee date. And you sit down and you write 10 things, right, that matter to you the most from your top to the bottom, right, 1 through 10. The other person, then you look at your list, and then you exchange the list, and you go down the list. You can't bullshit, right? At that moment, if the top 5 things are not even within the 10,
Intersecting, yeah.
you're fucked. And if the bottom 5 aren't even close, then you're really screwed, right? And I think that's what I'm talking about, commitment. So how can you commit if you don't even know what the hell you're getting into?
Yeah.
And this is where I'm talking about clear expectations, right? So you sit down, and for the female, it might be like, well, I want all this time and this and that. And so from the personal, this is why I'm going to tell you guys this funny as shit, right? When you have an S corporation or you have an LLC, it all flows down to your personal tax return. That's what it's called, right? Personal tax return. So guess what? Everything you're doing in life is flowing back to your person, right? When you're driving home, when you're thinking about life. So every move you make strategically, you actually have to put a map. And this is why I talk about the mind, body, spirit concept, right? So you have to apply all of them and say, well, how much time am I really going to have if I have a business?
Right.
If I'm doing this.
Yeah, exactly.
Or the type of pressure I'm dealing with. And so when I do come home, do I want to fight with this? Or, the other thing too is think about this way. Think about individuals that have been married before or have kids, and they get into a new relationship, and the new person's like, I like you, but I don't like the kids. And you're like, well, let's fucking knock some more up. And then there's crazies that are out there and say, well, I'm going to compromise. That doesn't make any sense. So right there in the moment, if you open up and say, I have kids, you got to say, you know what? Holy shit.
You got to sign up or say, I can't.
Or I can't do it. We've had a conversation in the past with myself, Winston, when you asked me, like, why wouldn't you never, did you ever take it further with this individuals? And I would say, a lot of it was because I knew what the commitments are. Like, if you're like, hey, I got a sick father and we got to travel to Texas all the time, that's going to be tough.
Yeah.
Right? I can't get away that far now. I don't want to feel like I'm not supportive, but you can't serve multiple masters. But this is one of the things that I was thinking about this, or this is another huge topic. Let's think that you were in a past relationship and you move forward, but the person in your past is still in your life. And you don't have a bad relationship. You still might work together. You might have started a business together. You might, have a studio together. I don't know how many times have I seen like fitness gyms where people were together and then they're no longer together. Big one is like The Rock, right? The Rock's first wife is still his manager. Yeah. And actually set him up for the success that he's at. Right? Without her, he wouldn't be there. So the new wife has to understand, guess what? My ex-wife is the freaking manager. That's not going to change because you're not going to change the sauce to the success. Yeah. Right? And if that person's, busting your balls every day about that, and you don't understand that, you're the one putting yourself through it. And so you might have fucked up and not given the clear expectation.
Yeah. And at the same time, in playing devil's advocate, because this has happened several times, is people will say, oh, yeah, no, it's fine, just because they want to land a certain position or be a friend or do certain things or whatever the case to get that connection. And they, think that it's going to be a possibility that they can do. And they're fighting it. And then it becomes something that was almost, I guess what I'm saying is it was a lie, right? That they said, yeah, we're going to be fine with this. We'll compromise. We'll make things happen. And then all of a sudden, a year comes by and, both are mutually vested. And it's like, what the hell just happened? You said you were good with this. And now all of a sudden you're trying to change the game on
or the classic, I'm going to change him.
Yes.
Or I'm going to change that person.
Yeah. Exactly the same thing.
So.
Oh yeah, don't worry. I'm going to change his mind and he's going to realize what I have to bring to the table, blah, 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 blah. And then it's like, a year comes by and then you start hearing this and you're like, well, now you're screwing me over because I laid everything out on the line. Here's the contract, right? For example, you signed, yes, I agree. And now look, and they're like, wow, it's different.
Have you seen TikToks on that? Because there's a couple of my sons that showed me a couple of the TikToks where the guy will be like, well, why don't we treat marriage is like a sports contract. Let's sign a 2-year contract.
Sure.
Let's sign a 2-year deal, and then afterwards we'll renegotiate. Maybe you're a free agent. Maybe we'll have a free agent, or maybe you're an extension. Or after 25 years, we'll draft a 19-year-old. There's TikToks like that,
Well,
and it's funny as shit.
They're actually trying to do that in actually marriages today, for reals. They're trying to actually pass a legislation for that.
Oh, really?
No, this is a true thing, right? And I think it's about, because you're looking at, I got to tell you guys a fucked up story. So I was doing a job and I'm working up with an engineer, and I'm working on this big project, and he tells me that his high school girlfriend had reached out to him. He's 28. This guy's making about $200,000 a year.
Uh-huh.
He's a partner in this firm. He actually bought his shares, gave up like his first 3 years of half his money to buy in, averaging like $8 an hour. And so this girlfriend of his thought that, okay, this guy's successful. And in their state, the moment you get married, it's that common law shit.
Yeah.
So check this out. So in the state of Colorado, that's not the state. He's working out of Colorado. She comes back, gets with him, and then says, she's not going to work. And he has this tricked out FJ, and he has a tricked out freaking like your little car he used to have before, the Subaru.
Yeah.
And he's talking about how he likes to mountain climb and all this.
Yeah.
And so he's got a nice place, and he's like, I bought this, 1-bedroom apartment or a condo off of Coors Field, and he's set up, right? And so she comes in and she says, when it's all said and done, she says, okay, cool. I'll keep the FJ, and then we'll rent the place, and that's all we're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't read the law. It's not a common law in Colorado.
Right.
So she got fucked. And so you're wondering, what was the intention or what was the commitment?
Yeah.
But she signed the papers quick, and then he said it was so quick that it happened. He's like, been there, done that. I got the T-shirt. But you know what's crazy in life, and you understand this, in anything we do in our lives, when it comes to business or money, you have to write an affidavit of every specific thing you're going to do, and then there's a notary and a contract, right?
Oh, yeah.
Or at a closing.
Mm-hmm.
So why wouldn't we just do this in our personal life immediately, literally for ourselves, sit back, outline everything that's important, outline what you're not going to be willing to change about yourself, and say, these are not fucking deal breakers. I can't do it.
Yeah.
There might be move for growth or movement, but at this point, you can't just turn a ship if it's pretty large, right?
Yeah.
You do all this, you put it together, and it's going to save you a shitload of heartache. It's a shitload of.
I'm still kicking myself over your idea of you have a coffee date and you write down 10 things each, because I wish I would have done that, because I've been divorced now for 10 years. I can think of all the situations that didn't go right that I wish I would have done that from the get-go. And to me, then you say, okay, well, we don't have anything fucking common. Let's just walk away from this instead of wasting each other's time. Right. Like number one on my list is my sons, and I remember, even though I was dating somebody that was younger than me, we'd break up 2 years in a row during baseball season because I was coaching all 3 of their teams, and there were 48 games in a 2-month period.
So that was your dedication.
Oh yeah, that was my dedication right there. And every day she'd be like, "You're going to practice again?" And I'm like, "Yeah." You have a game again. Exactly. But
the crazy part, John, is like it's like you weren't coming home at night.
No, because that was my full-time business with my sons.
But you were coming home.
Yeah.
So that's the thing.
Yeah.
And so it's not like you're fucking gone for fucking months.
But
I look at like my mom, and my dad was gone for 2 months at a time, and there was no like. She was more encouraging, like, get out there and make the bread. We don't want to be broke over here, so it gets done. So it's crazy, but the expectation was there.
Yeah, no. As long as you, like you said, both go into it and say, okay, I understand what this is going to take. Yeah. And lately I've been not doing the formality of the list, but I always tell them, come football season. We come home from a game and we're watching film till 1 a.m. We're out the next day, and so I've always tried to lay those expectations. It doesn't always work out.
But it doesn't work verbally. Look, I'm gonna tell you
I know. I agree with you.
How many times have you ever had a conversation with somebody and you're telling them something and they don't understand what the fuck you said?
Yeah. But they just act like they do. So
no, they hear what they hear it.
They hear what they want to hear.
What they want to hear, and then it's twisted and said you said that. And so, like, one of the things that I've learned in my life is, like, when I'm doing even big deals, I sent out my sales team today and I said, look, I need a fucking list of exactly what configurations you want me to configure, when they're due, when I got them, when the phone calls, and we can talk, period.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck. Do not send me 10 emails. I'm not going to read them. So today I went in and I deleted everyone's emails without even reading them.
Mhm.
Right? Because I said, you know what? I got to get this shit the way I want it.
Yeah.
Controlling my ship. And this is what's going to go towards the end of what I'm going to talk about. In the relationship, there's a leader. And you have to establish leadership within the relationship.
Right.
And if you don't establish leadership, there is no fucking such thing, even in partnerships, where it's like it's 50-50 or that whole bullshit, it's 100-100. You're still going to have to put 100% effort, but one person has to do the checks and balances. And so I wrote something here for myself that I want to say, John, this is really good. We kind of talked about this. Laying clear expectations and then holding people accountable. Why is this so important? Because you can always go back to that list. And Tony Robbins says, look, when you're trying to do something that you're not, right? It's like me. If I'm hanging, like I can go down anytime and I can be wrong, guys. Like most of my guys are partiers, right? We know all the guys, we kind of have the same friends. But I can sit there and have one drink or even two drinks and not be affected by them having 1,000 drinks. And I'm walking around like, oh my God, this is so much. Those guys are drinkers. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Like, why would you care, right? But the thing is about it, I gave them the clear expectation.
Yeah.
After 2 drinks, I'm no longer partaking. So if you bring me the alcohol, you're going to lose it. You're going to get I'm not going to take it, right? So if you want to buy, but I set those expectations, and it was crazy because even when I first got along with, when I got with Mike, when I got with the whole group and I brought in, I literally set my expectations how I am. Like I tell you, I don't share rooms. I don't do any of that crap. If I go, I buy my own room. I do this. I'm a kind of a very kind of private person. I've always been like that. And so then I kind of set my expectation what it is. Throw your fucking trash. You know Winston how I am. And it's crazy because once you set that expectation, then people understand and they're not all pee-pee-hearted with you. Yeah. Right? But in our personal lives, even as meticulous as I am, in my personal life, I've always failed not laying down exactly what's going on or leaving out information because you don't want to deal with it or saying, you know what, well, does it really relevant? And it doesn't make any sense. We've talked in podcasts multiple times. Would you build a building without putting a set of drawings? No fucking way. It comes out as a remodel and it's all fucked up, right?
Things don't fit right.
Right? You not set your goals out there and write them down to understand what you're going to do. And this is what's crazy. We always think in our mind, oh, yeah, we do know. And if you interview multiple people that have failed at multiple relationships, they all say the same thing. Our expectations were not lined up and our commitments were lined up, and people view commitment in a whole different fucking matter. Now, I want to give an example of this. Let's say the husband's a breadwinner, or let's say the wife's a breadwinner. Fuck it, let's change it up. And she's Sheryl Sandberg. And I'm at home, but I'm kicking back and I'm I'm doing a big thing because I got to prepare for Cheryl's things. I get her clothes ready. That's a big job in itself. But what I understand at the end of the day, say she's taking us to all the big gigs, right? She's flying us around privately. She's taking us on ships, whatever. And I love the lifestyle. And but then I don't know the concept of the dollar. Well, then I don't even know what I'm getting.
Right.
So if you constantly have to be explaining to that person what they're getting, you never set the expectation. Well, they don't even know what they're getting. So to them, when they get the McDonald's fucking cheeseburger versus the filet mignon from Ruth Chris, well, they never have to pay for it, so that doesn't matter. It's the same thing getting it, right? That's the whole concept of saying when you have like a spoiled kid. Right. So when you don't have that expectation saying, look, you sit down and say, look, you know what? This is what it takes to get to my level. Do you really understand? Have you had a part-time job? Have you done something? And some people don't have that. To them, when you're talking to them, it's really like a fairy tale, right? There's no real empirical data.
They don't understand that.
No, at all. So then you're in there and you got to put those hours like you in coaching. I'm sitting there and thinking,
there's a different appreciation for it.
It's a different appreciation.
Or being a father,
right.
The hours that it takes to put in to be a father. So.
Think about that, right? So you're putting those hours to be a father, that. But if you've never been a father and you don't have that open-mindedness, you're not going to be able to appreciate it. So they'll say, well, fuck, why do you got to be coaching all this time? Or why do you got to do this? Can't he teach himself?
Yeah.
And you're sitting there like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, because they don't see behind the curtain exactly
what's going on.
This is
or they see what 80-90% of parents do is
look.
Just
I'm going to pretend something for you. Look.
Yeah, just go to the.
This is the current, right? Let's pretend this is the current. Yeah. I'm going to give you something metamorphically. This is the fucking problem. It's not the current. They can't see beyond themselves. So even if you drop the current and I see Carson right now, they can't see beyond themselves. You can't fucking fix that. So regardless of what you put in, and you're like, here's behind the curtain, no matter what you present to them, if they're not open in their mind to grasp what you're presenting, all you're doing is wasting everybody's energy.
Yeah. Well, it's almost just kind of like selfishness.
Well, it is.
You know?
It is.
Yeah.
It's basically saying, I'm going to hold on to this one granular thing that I think is right, and that's it. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. It doesn't matter.
But that's it doesn't what happens to failed businesses when you have partners. You know, you don't have those clear outlines to get back to the first point about business relationships or
But
business.
yeah, that's why
business
majority
partner.
of them, they always have buyouts.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, you know what's crazy? Right now, in any state, you cannot create a multi-member LLC without naming the managing member.
Oh.
The corporation does not allow that. Corporation does not allow it because they saw so many fucking lawsuits.
Oh, where
Oh, yeah.
everybody's
It's
pushing
crazy.
and saying 50-50, but yeah, fuck.
It doesn't matter. So the managing member could actually only own 1%, and he makes the fucking call. So you
See,
vote.
I didn't know that part of
So
it.
you vote who the managing member is going to be, and you go based on, okay, this guy knows, he's clear-headed, he's not emotional, not this. So I feel good if it all goes to shit, and he has to decide that we're going to dissolve this. How it's going to go. It doesn't dilute your shares. It doesn't mean that when it all fucking sells out, that you don't get 20% of something.
Yeah.
But you don't want someone crazy making the move and saying, "I'm going to just start fucking mowing on stuff."
Also, theoretically, you could own, say, 1%, but still be the managing member.
Managing member.
And then when it shakes out, you only get your 1%
You get
out
your
of it.
1%.
But you still have to decide. So, yeah, I didn't know that
How it's
part of
going to
business.
go.
Yeah.
And it's actually, you have to own 3%, but still
Okay.
3% versus the big number, it's huge.
Yeah.
And that's what I talk about life. So if the corporation commission says, I don't allow, you can't sign up a stupid ass partnership, and that's a fucking clusterfuck, and then you have to have the buyout you're talking about. And
Yeah.
it's more set of paperwork that has to be said. It's a pain in the ass. When you still think about that, right?
Yeah.
You still have, then you have to set the clear expectations. I think if you sat down with somebody personally and you put the 10 list, right? And I said, these are the top 7 things that I want. And these are the top 5 things right here. That's a fucking no-brainer, right? And you really set it down. You wrote that contract and said, you know what? This does make sense to you. Have you guys noticed when you have to write something, you take it more serious?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
'cause it's binding.
that the binding part of it, but you're so quickly, you know, and this is a Michael Montoya, it's actually his mom saying, La lengua mata, you know, the tongue kills, you know, and it takes nothing for something to roll right off your tongue, but to put pen to paper, pencil to paper, you got to process things and you got to make that action. It's different. It is different.
Proof in the pudding right there.
Yeah.
And so that's where it goes. And I'm like, you know what? Think about this. So let's just think about this. Like in your guys' perspective, what are the top 5 things? Like John, for you, let's play out. I'm sitting here with you. What are your top 5 things in a friendship? Like what is it? Can you actually think about it? Even 3?
Like about things that I need to have from a friendship. It's just, you know, even it's something even for an intimate relationship, a partnership. You know, I think the first part of things now, and again, you have to come to an agreement and say, well, you know, there's going to be certain times that I'm not going to be able to do this, but then, hey, if you ever need me, I'm going to be there, you know? So I think that sort of that balance that you try to create with a friendship, that, you know, you'll be there for each other, you know, you'll be able to do things, when there's emotional things that you have to be able to talk about, you know, you have to be that person for
Be
them.
more selfish.
Yeah.
So think about this way. Look at this right there.
Yeah.
Us by human, we're not trained to actually say what we want.
Yeah.
So think about what you were telling me. Like, well, let's create a balanced crowd. So no. So let's take that away and let's just think by yourself. You're saying, I'm sitting here. These are the 3 things I want. What matter to me?
I see. That's just it. Is I always try to differentiate between want and need. You know, what do I need? You know, so what do I want? That's tough, because loyalty. I've lost friends, especially when I got divorced, that wanted to hang out with my ex-wife. You know, they're going to fucking Costco with them, and I was going to take the kids to the lake. You know, and I'm like, fuck. And that's a male person that was going to do that. And to me, loyalty. You know, loyalty is probably number 1 in a friendship.
But you see, defining loyalty, and this is what I like to do. So I'm a lot like you, John. And so I'm gonna give you an example, right? We know this, that as a friend, like that shit doesn't fly. Like that's the wife, or it's a fucking long-term girlfriend. You better not be fucking taking her to Costco now. You're gonna be saying, hey, dude, you know what? Your chick hit me up. She's fucking falling apart here. Do you want me to fucking take her to Costco, or what's your call? but I'm gonna call you here. And you're like, you know what, dude? My son is gonna affect my fucking son. Can you please do it? But you see that common courtesy. The second thing,
none of that happened.
Yeah.
And I completely cut ties with that person.
Second thing is, if a motherfucker's gonna be talking about you, that you stop it right there and say, look, I can't be part of this conversation here. If you're gonna talk shit about that guy, you may as well bring him in, or I'm gonna have to step out of the room. I do a lot, many times, right?
Yeah.
Because I want to give you 48 hours to relay what you were telling me to you telling me, because I'm gonna reiterate exactly what you told me.
Yeah.
Right. And so when I go with friendships, John, I exactly what I'm gonna talk about. Because if I got your back, I'm gonna expect this loyalty, but this is what loyalty means to me.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can't meet that loyalty, then we can be tier 3 friends.
Yeah.
Right. And you got to set your tier levels.
Mm-hmm.
And so then you give that person the opportunity to say, well, fuck, I can't be a tier A level friend. And then that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'm like, well, you know what? You're able to set that up. And I think that that's where we're wrong. But we're hoping that people can read our mind and be like, well, I think that's what it is. And no, that friend didn't have the same loyalty. He didn't have the same things you thought, because for him, he thought it was okay. And you're like, it's not okay.
Yeah.
But you see what I'm trying to say?
Mm-hmm.
But in a relationship, someone that you're going to spend a lot of fucking time with, that one you can't have the loosey-goosey. You have to sit there and say, look, these are the fucking deal breakers. I'm going to give you mine real quick. Okay, so I'm going to tell you right away. Mine's real simple. I expect if you're going to be at home and you're not going to be the guy, I expect the house clean. I expect not to be able to be doing my clothes, feeding myself. You maintain the empire. Okay? Number 5, sex is not going to be a negotiation. Bottom fucking line, right? And the second thing is, we're going to determine that we're not going to spend money frivolously. I don't give a shit how much I make it. That's it. Simple list. You see what I'm trying to tell you? And then I say, now I want you to define loyalty for me. What you think. And so then you come in and you got to lay that out. But furthermore, in my new list as an evolved man in time, then I'm like, okay, this is going to be something else. This is what my business life looks like. And this is how my business and personal merge. And this is where it comes at. Is there going to be a problem there?
Yeah.
Then at that point, you've taken everything off the table.
Yeah.
Right. But I think what happens a lot of times with us, we don't want to deal with the situation. Mm-hmm. So we're like, oh, it'll just fix itself. No, it's not going to fucking fix itself. If your roof is fucking leaking and it's raining, it's not going to fix itself. Mm-hmm. So treat your life like a leaky roof. Mm-hmm. When the rain stops, fix the roof. So when the rain hits, it's not leaking again. But we're afraid to face that with ourselves. We're afraid to say, this is what I want. Right?
Yeah.
And in business, I'm a fucking master. I tell you exactly the situation. I'm in a situation right now where I put a design with the third-party engineer. He calls up Soul and he says, well, I'm going to send the design to the customer, and then the customer can send it to you after I've done the work. I called up that customer immediately and I said, I'm just letting you know that design better not go to any of my competitors, because I did all the fucking work.
Yeah.
And I brought him here. And then they were like back talking like, oh, well, he's going to send it to you. He's this, he's that. And I said, that's not going to happen. But I stonewalled him. But what I wanted to do, John, let me tell you why I don't go emotional. I want to say, okay, motherfucker, I need to teach you a lesson. I need to bring in another manufacturer. I need to just redesign it, not say a fucking thing, slam it through my style, cut the deal, install it, then let you know when it's done. And then when the guy comes to me and says, well, why is the deal not done? What happened? You know why? You didn't show me the fucking loyalty that I expect. And I understand you got to play in the game, but I want you to use common sense, right? And I use the story of the Don of New York. If I was conducting business in New York, I'm going to ask the Don of New York if I could step on the street. It's common sense. Yeah. But you have to set that expectation, and you have to hold people to that commitment. So I tell my manufacturers, if you want my type of commitment, then I'm going to expect this type of commitment from you. If you want to deal with the loosey-goosey motherfucker that's going to represent all the manufacturers in whichever one fits for them, they're going to use, well, then go ahead and play that way. But if you want to deal with me, Sparta, who's only going to represent you, and whoever I go to the dance with, I'm going to leave, then you better reciprocate that same type of loyalty across the other board.
Yeah.
You see what I'm trying to tell you?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, because then literally your competitors could say, well, we saved all this money because we didn't do it in the design. We're just going to benefit from his hard work. And
think about that.
Total backstab.
Right?
Yeah. Oh, no. Yeah.
But you know what? The thing about me is I'm known for holding you accountable.
Yeah.
Whatever tactic it's going to take. But most people don't work that way, right? So instead of protecting yourself of having to actually take that approach, like call it the straight up approach, that's where the whole sitting down and writing your goals together and saying this is what it is.
Mm.
So then when you're calm and no one's pissed off and no one's like this, then you can say, hey, you know what? No, I can't give you that type of relationship. Are you a needy chick? You need a lot of time? Well, tell me what you need. Fucking, we're not going to make it. I'm telling you right now that we ain't going to make it because you need too much of this.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's so funny because I'm still circling back around that list of 10 things. I think when you don't do that, eventually you find out the real 10 things, because then you're saying like, you know what, here's that one, probably a number 8 that I kind of liked, but then you find out 5, 6, 7, and you're like, fuck, okay, yeah, I should have known these a long time ago.
And then guess what you did?
You wasted a lot of fucking
a lot of
time and effort,
but,
and money.
But for me, when you waste the money and you're splitting the sheep, and it's like, oh fuck, I gotta start again. Me, a little time and effort, fuck, I'm all right with that.
Yeah.
But I'm very clear in how I keep my assets.
Yeah.
I tell people this. It's one of this. I says I'm a very secretive individual, right? And you're not gonna have my safe combination.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are. You're not having my safe combination, right?
Well, you watch Seinfeld?
No.
Well, anyway, there's an episode on Seinfeld where George for nothing will give his ATM code, and literally there's like somebody like stuck in like something's on fire, and there's an ATM, and the only way that they can get the door to open is if he gives them his ATM card on the door and gives them the code, and he's like, yeah, I can't do it.
You can't do it, right?
Yeah.
But he's sticking to what he knows,
Yeah.
right?
Oh yeah.
And I can respect that. If someone sits down and says, you expect, like I was a little boy. It's funny. My mom told me this story. When I was a little boy, they were drilling my mom and dad's well, and that well's like 300 feet deep. It's something stupid. I think it might be 500 feet deep because Penasco, you got to dig and dig and dig and dig. It's all rock. So this little boy came in, and he laid on my bed, and I had this like little mini bed. And so I fucking go in there and I see him on my little bed, and I was like, what the hell? So I go grab him from his feet, dude, and pull him off my bed. And everyone was freaked out, and I said, he didn't get permission to lay on my bed. And they asked me, why don't you want him to lay in his bed? I said, because he might be stinky and my bed smells like Downy. But back then, I already knew who I was. And so then my mom sat there and she's like, we got to be good to him. But then she says, you're right. So then she put him on the couch. And she says, you know what? The way I've taught you not to ask permission to touch my stuff, then why don't I feel it's right for me to ask you for permission to get on put someone on your little bed or your toys, right? And that's where some people, where they're loosey-goosey and they're like, well, I'm used to letting everybody, use my stuff and my tools, and we're I call it a family affair. That's where I'm like, no, fuck no. Because I was raised very by myself. I'm not going to share my toys. You're not going to drive my car. I'm going to lend you a tool, but it better come back the way I sent it. And I'm very meticulous to what I am, right? Mm-hmm. But if you don't set that expectation for the individual using your tool, and he goes in there and he buys an Allsup's cup, and you're thinking, well, you know what? Imagine I lend my car to Jason, and he takes off, and I'm saying, and he comes back, he's like, hey, no big deal. I spilled the whole fucking Allsup's cup on the leather. But I didn't tell him, no drinking. I don't want nothing in the trucks and all that. And this happened to me. Yeah. I got in a fucking black truck and it was full of grape jelly, and I couldn't put the fucking seatbelt in. So I had to spend fucking 2 hours, and I'm already late for a meeting. And they won't let you into the Utah border where it's at if your safety belt's not on. In COVID, they do a safety check. It's fucking stupid as fuck.
Really?
So imagine
going into Utah?
Into the Ute Nation.
Oh, into the Ute Nation. Oh, yeah. Okay.
And so I kind of fucking get the seatbelt to work. Right? But you would expect that common sense would say, if you spill the fucking grape jelly, clean the fucker up.
Yeah.
But it got in the seatbelt. And if you don't know how to do it, say, dude, I fucking dropped the grape jelly in the seatbelt, but there it stayed for 4 days. Mm-hmm. At that moment, I realized every day. Now I'm in here thinking, how am I going to break this fucker down? So I thought, well, you know what? Petroleum jelly will break shit down. Yeah. I took a lot of chemistry. I'm thinking, okay, let me do some petroleum jelly. I'm not going to do the DW40 because I don't know how that thing's going to bond with it. So I get that, and I finally get it, and it's kind of like a half-ass work, but I finally got it cleared out, but I was fucking pissed. So I literally get there to that meeting within 3 minutes because of the time, because I was way ahead of time, working this whole thing. But you have to set your expectation. You have to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to lend you my car. who's going to be in my car? Okay, well, I got a date. That's okay. Well, guess what? My car has 4 seats, but I don't want 4 fuckers in my car.
Yeah.
I lent it to you. Do you see what I'm trying to tell you?
Yeah.
But if you don't set those expectations, and then you hear that, oh, you dude, they're rolling your G-Wagon, and it's rolling deep 5 dudes, and you're there all, you know what I'm trying to say? You're like, dude, I'm all pissed off.
Yeah.
And then,
But parents need to set expectations. I mean, businesses, relationships. I think all those things you have to have those expectations.
Yeah.
And if you don't, then you get negative results from it.
always. And then what it is? Bad friendships, bad business,
Bad kids.
bad kids, and you're sitting there like, oh fuck, he's a fuck up now. And you're like, well, you know what? Remember when he was a little boy and he was fucking crying, and all you did was give him chocolate? That's one of my cousins, right? And then now he's a little fucker still, and so he just, instead of like the whining, it hasn't changed.
Yeah,
Instead of saying, dude, you're not gonna get that, period,
Yeah.
right?
that sense of entitlement. Yeah.
And so you got to stop those things. But you know what's crazy? Look, you say, well, I got your 20s. No, fuck no. You get to 25, if you don't got a lot of this shit rolled up, I promise you, your life is going to be rockier than shit.
Yeah.
Time is against you, right?
Yeah.
You want to start knowing who you are by the time you're 21, 22 as a man, right? You want to know what kind of commitments you want. You want to start writing them down, even as a female, and saying, these are the shit that bother me. These are the deal breakers for me as a human, right? And this is a funny part I tell people. One of the biggest things for me that's a deal breaker is cleanliness, right? If you ain't fucking clean, I can't hang with you.
Yeah.
Just can't.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get in your car. It affects me. I can't control it. It's just I'm a fucking clean freak, right? And I'm a clean freak in every place that I'm at. My business, my office, my house, my car, the fucking garage, the warehouse that no one touches. It's just my mentality, right? So that's a deal breaker. I remember, it's funny, when I was about 23, I was dating this girl, and I was an executive, and I'm flying back and forth to Miami, and I needed some socks, and I look in my briefcase, and she didn't put socks, and so I had to cross over the bridge. And if all you guys know, in the middle of the daytime, if you have to cross over the bridge to like a Target to get back, you might not get back. So I'm in a fucking suit ready, and I'm like thinking, fuck, I don't have any socks. And I'm doing some high time level guys. The contract was $5 million. So I tell the driver, fuck, give me the nearest store, get socks. So we get to like a JW something, and I get the socks, and the traffic stops down the fucking bridge. And I don't know what to do. And I know where we're at. And I said, how many minutes do you think? He says, about 45. When do you got to be there? 15 minutes. So I'm panicking like a son of a bitch. What am I going to do? And I'm thinking in my mind, fucking, I was, super athlete at the time. And I'm like, fuck it, I'll run. But you know how humid it is?
Oh yeah.
Take the suit coat off. I jump the fuck out of the car, and I'm book it down. I know where I got to get to. And I forgot the hotel we got to be at. It's a pretty famous hotel to me. I get there.
What town again was?
What, Miami.
Okay.
Miami. And 5 minutes late, and I'm fucking drenched. I look like someone threw a water fucking bucket on me. I get to the meeting. I don't know what the fuck to do, right? I'm like, should I take my shirt off, whatever? It's just, I get to the meeting, and the guy comes and he says, meeting's off. You're late. Old fucker. He says, I'll let Bill Fincher know that you were going to take this meeting serious. My fucking heart drops in that moment. So I'm just all like, holy fuck. We're able to resurrect it, but that guy was trying to teach me a lesson because I was a worldwide VP.
Yeah.
And they were like, is he too young? Is he not fucking taking something? But I wasn't. I let him tell you. I get back, and I said, you know what? Girl, I said, why didn't you put my socks in the car? And the thing, and she's like, you're rich. Why didn't you buy some? In that moment, I told myself, me and this girl did not have our commitments set straight.
Yeah.
So she wants to live in this house, and I laid it down. I fucking got aggressive, and I said, you know what? You work at Sandia and you think you're a badass? Your fucking money won't pay for this mortgage. Won't pay for this. Won't pay for that. And so, do you realize that your assholeness? I said, but you know what? I said, we're done. Guess what we're gonna do? I said, 1 week, you're the hell out of here. You need to be in the comfortable area that you want to be because you have your own mentality, and we're going to be this good. And I did. Broke it off. And it was funny because people would tease me and say, fuck, Jack broke up with his chick over a set of socks. a pair of socks.
Yeah, it was a $5 million pair of socks.
Yeah.
But you see what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
At that moment, I knew that I did not have a friend. I had a foe.
A partner.
Yeah.
You see what I'm trying to tell you?
Yeah.
And that's but understanding fucking commitment. If you're sitting there and your partner, you understand, I always get this all the time for me personally.
That's a good story.
I tell people, my broke is not your broke, right? So my broke, John, means 7 figures. That's broke for me. I get fucking freaked out, right? And so when I tend, it's a weird thing for me psychologically, I freak out. And so I'm like, you're going to laugh at this shit. I'll be like, oh, fuck. What's the cost of those paper towels and all that? Because I set my mind and saying, I need this in order to flow all the companies. And so people are confused. And I will never pay full price. And I'll never just buy something that doesn't make any sense if I can't get a deal. And I mean, Carson, you got to know this about me, right?
Oh yeah, that's how I live now too.
It's my fucking superpower, I call it, right? But if the person across is
but I think successful people, I think what they say with multimillionaires and billionaires are the cheapest people ever because they want to hang on to their wealth and they figured how tough it was to get to that point. I mean, the silver spoon assholes that that were born with it stuck up their ass. They're the ones that usually lose it.
Yeah.
Have you seen the show Billions?
No. Oh yeah. With Axelrod?
Yeah.
That's me, baby. Bobby Oz see Bobby Axelrod.
But yeah, like the second episode of the family they're entitled and they have their name on the building, but but we're not talking about those people. The people that have worked for it, like you guys have, from rags to riches, they're usually the most frugal people, just because they saw probably how tough it was to get to that point, and they don't want to let it slip away.
I learned that last year, though. For me, I've talked about it a few times, and last year was probably the most money I've made in my life, and I also spent a lot. And when it came time, and I was like, "Holy shit!" I got kind of out of control. Where I was like, this much was going here, and I was like, who cares? Who cares? My baseline is this. I always have liquid. And after looking at things and doing my taxes, I was like, this is how much money I would have had if I wouldn't have went and splurged and bought all this stupid shit, right? I was like, holy shit. But for me, I'm glad I went through that at such a young age because now it sets me up in the position to where living like Jack now is a real thing. And some people are like, oh, you're too tight. You need to enjoy your life, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, I'm enjoying my life just fine, but I'm also making certain sacrifices right now so I can, retire early or do whatever I want later down the road because that's where I'm building up for. And one time I was meeting with one of my best friends growing up. He's like a brother basically. And, he's kind of going through things and he's like, I don't know how to budget and do this and that. I told him, dude, basically, if I don't have X amount in my checking account, I'm freaking out. And he was like, are you serious? He's like, I've never even had that much. And I'm like, dude, I don't know. It's just something that is a personal thing for me. And it sounds ridiculous, but that's where I'm comfortable.
But it's a similar type of mentality that he has.
You committed.
Exactly.
You committed.
The thing I always say is, if something were to happen, and by me living that way, and with COVID and everything happening, I didn't even buckle. And that's why I was able to still launch my business, buy all my signs, not phased, do everything that I needed, new cards, new product design, everything. In the middle of the pandemic, not even knowing if real estate would still be a thing for a while, but I was in the position still because I had that liquidity on hand where it didn't even bother me. Because it's almost like one of those things like, me and you have always talked about 3 times, 4 times over, or you can't afford it. And now my role has even gotten worse. I'm like 10 times over right now, because I'm like, holy shit. When you
become more frugal.
Yeah, exactly. Because there's certain things that I want to get to in my life, right? So I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to make sacrifices now. I had all my fun last year.
Yeah.
And Jack gets mad sometimes. I'm like, I'm not doing no trips. I'm not doing nothing.
I see, don't have a choice now. We can't do anything.
Yeah, so it was like worked out, right? Because I told him this before going into 2020, and he's like, no, you're stupid. You need to live a life still. And I was like, dude, I'll go on maybe 1 or 2, but that's it.
Yeah.
And now all this stuff happened, so it limited, everything, and it kind of worked out the way I was planning. But yeah, definitely learning that. And then you'll hear like the stories of like T-Pain, right? Where T-Pain was, he had like $5 million in his account and went down, and he couldn't even buy chicken nuggets for his kids because he lost all his money.
Wow.
And he went on a podcast too and said that, and it's like, just as fast, money goes faster than it comes in. 100%. If you're not doing things
way faster.
Yeah. And that's why one thing for me, what I have learned since last year, it's all about how much you retain. retaining the money is the biggest thing and the hardest thing to do, because when you have an influx of it, you're like, oh, 5,000, 10,000 here, no biggie. 20,000 here, it's fine, whatever. You know what I mean? And then it starts, once you start building that bad habit, it's like boom, 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 and then you're like, oh shit,
You
I'm
get
spending way
blinded.
too much.
And
Exactly.
that's what I used to share with you when I first met you. That was my grandfather. My grandfather told me it's not how much water you bring into the watershed, it's how much you retain. I put that principle. And so that was one of the biggest things that he taught me about the money aspect of it. And what's crazy about money, and I've told you guys, it's just a fucking resource, right? But most individuals don't know how to control that resource. And so you're committing to being financially free and no stress. Carson gets to see me. He's seen me, I don't know, it's been a freaking 5-year run or something like that. But in the whole time he's known me, I'm doing stuff and the movement is still there, and there's no tightness ever at all in what I do. During the pandemic, one of the episodes I'm gonna do, I have Nikki and another videographer working the best of 2020. I'm gonna showcase what I accomplished in 2020, which is gonna blow people's minds, right? Spending money, doing the right things, making money, but my head was in the trench, right? I wasn't worried about what was going on. And I was telling one of my friends, he was telling me this stuff about, I share the truth on social media, and I said, I'm gonna give you what the truth is. The truth has to be backed up by facts. And it can't be based on someone's opinion or a party was talking about what's going on and all these guys, it's going to be martial law and just some stupid shit. And I said, a wise man is always ready for war. A wise man's prepared. So you sending me some hillbilly fucking talking about some stupid shit. When I would see him in person, don't get me wrong, I don't want to be judgmental, but I'm not listening to that fucking idiot. Like, what have you done? Like, are you moving anything? Are you a NASDAQ? Are you a leader or something? Okay, you're some backwoods dude talking about, no, I'm not listening to that. That's just putting poison in my mind. So I hit him hard. And I said, you know what's funny? I said, this is what's funny. You're a Trumper, but on your Facebook profile, you have a picture with the one-time leader of the Democratic Party. It's a fucking oxymoron. You can't have that because you can't be on one side and then this. And so I used to always, this is my famous line, stand for something or fall for everything.
Yeah.
You can't be a fucking ambulance chaser. Yeah. Right? You know what I'm trying to tell you? And so ultimately, when I forge who I am, I tell you what it is. Like, I tell you who I am, where I'm coming from. Most people, the reason my friendships are really inked for many years or a lifetime, I can't say a lifetime because I'm not that old, but what it is because you know what you're going to get with me. Yeah. There's no like wondering, fuck, was he going to be like this one day? Or no, you know exactly right, wrong, or indifferent. And I kind of pride myself on delivering that. Yeah. Right. I mean, in the time, Carson, the time that you've known me, have I changed my paradigm?
No.
If you had to describe me in 3 words, what would they be? Three things that, or phrases. What would?
No, dude,
hard-headed mother.
Yeah.
Determined as shit.
Determined, I'd say. I don't know. You really take pride in who you are. That's the biggest thing I can say.
Meticulous.
You don't change. For no matter who it is.
He's meticulous.
Take it or leave it, and not in a bad way.
No.
That's good because you know who you are and you're not afraid to tell people that. And that's the biggest trait that you have that a lot of people don't, is because people sometimes don't even know who they are, or they're too embarrassed to say who they are. And one thing with me is I'm trying to be more of myself too. And, people will say, oh, you're doing this, you're doing that. And it's like, well, I still want to brand myself as a young kid who's out here still getting things done. And that's why now, like, I'm not afraid to get on the podcast with my hat backwards because this is me, but when I have to put a suit on or put a tie on, I do that and I still deliver a result, and what I'm trying to take from you is that exact thing and letting my actions speak for certain things. Some people are like, oh, I don't know why he's growing his hair like that, or why is he doing this, or blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I'm just expressing myself the way I want to, because the last thing I want to do is portray myself as something to someone. And then they get to know me and they're like, the hell, this guy's nothing like he was, you know what I mean? Yeah. And that's one thing that you've had, and that's why even at your Christmas parties and stuff, they're like, yeah, Muscle Jack, the lady from Extreme Networks or whatever, she would always say that, is because you would show it and you set that expectation. You're like, no, I don't wear ties, I'll wear a suit, but I'm not wearing a tie. You know what I mean? Same thing. And that's what makes us as individuals extremely special, and that's what makes us shine. You know what I mean? And that's one thing that I'm trying to grasp and not get so caught up in, oh, you need to look like, the Wolf of Wall Street and wear a suit and tie all the time and do this. And it's like, that guy was one of the biggest slime balls ever, but he put the face on, you know what I mean? And I'm just trying to relay exactly who I am. So my relationship and my impression with people is a lot more personal. You know what I mean? But there's a fine line to it. I know there's a lot of things that have changed. And, you know, older generation, they're like, oh, that guy, he looks too unprofessional. I don't trust him to handle this business transaction, whatever the case. So you walk that fine line too, right? Where it's too much. But that's the biggest thing that I can appreciate about you is that you're not afraid to show who you are. You know what I mean? Because, you know, if you talk to, oh, what's up? We're killing it. It's heavy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's one thing. I was talking to someone and I was like, at Jack's Eulogy, I'm going to say 3 things. Things would get heavy. He was always killing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There was that's exactly it. And I think the thing is when people say, every time I talk to you, you're killing it. That's what it is. I am killing it. You know what I'm trying to tell you?
Well, it's a mindset too. You're not going to be like, oh, you know, my life sucks and this and that. And it's like, we've had this conversation. I'm like, how are you going to say your life sucks and you're just outside parked in an SV?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's a difference in that. And even it's people, not just about the Lamborghini, but people have certain things and they don't see it, but it's there every day. You know what I mean? Like things can get so discouraging. And it's like, look what you've done with your son too, John. Like that's your trophy right now. You know, that's your Lamborghini in the parking lot. And that's something that you should be admired for because there's not a lot of parents that will go out and make the sacrifices that you have made to do that. Same thing. There's not a lot of people that make the sacrifices you have made to have the lifestyle you have, but that's true success in its own way, right?
Yes.
Because John's success is different. Your success is different. Maybe my success is different. Everyone's different, but there you see certain individuals, how they're successful in their own ways.
But you're mentally free. Like you, John, you're not like an angry dude, like going around and all the interactions. I'm like, no matter what he says. And it's funny because I've heard like, well, sometimes people could be overbearing type of parents, and I use you as an example. And I'm like, well, fuck, his kid wouldn't be where he's at if it wouldn't be in his ass. Like, I'm going to tell you no way in hell, right? And so when I look at the sauce, if someone came and said, you know what, John's overbearing or whatever on this, I'd say you're fucking nuts because the kid's on the news, he's knocking the shit out. The facts don't lie. Yeah. So I guess, you know what, the outcome's there.
But that's the thing too, is the son probably came to John and said, hey, this is what I want to do. Number one, I want to be a president one day.
I ask him that all the time. Do you want this? And all the time, do you want this? Like when we get in arguments about things, do you want this? Because I can pull back.
Yeah.
Fuck.
But that goes back to setting the expectation on what is supposed to be delivered. Because obviously it's not easy to get the attention or be as talented as he is. You have to work hard. The same thing we talked about when we opened this podcast, right? When you're doing a business, what's going to happen? You're going to have long days, long nights. You're going to have shit hit the fan. You're probably going to go close to being, not having much funds in the bank because you're funneling so much into your business to get it going, to get your big return. And you're going to have to make tons of sacrifices with your family, your friends, whatever the case may be, there's a price to be paid.
He knows his own journey, even like and all 3 of my sons are this because they've been through sort of this journey through that. For my youngest right now, but he went because when he was the youngest, I was coaching the older and I was their coordinators and stuff, but I could only participate in his practices and people didn't believe in him. He's gone through the failures of coaches not wanting him to be their quarterback or saying, well, we're going to go in a different direction or whatever. Sure. So he's been through those failures of saying, you know what, somebody doesn't think I'm the best. So what are we going to do about it? Well, we're going to fucking work harder, and that's what we've done. And there's names that are written above his door of coaches that haven't believed in him. And so that every time he walks out of his doorway, he can look up and remember there was somebody that didn't believe in me. Now I got to go work my ass off.
Yeah, for sure.
I always like those situations. I've had so many people that didn't believe in me.
Oh yeah.
And then when I shut them down, it was beautiful. I'm gonna tell you right now.
That's why I love posting when I get a house in escrow. I'm like, boom, send it out there, and then people are like, oh crap, because everyone would be like, oh, let's see how he does because he's not now with the team no more, and blah blah blah. And I'm like, now hearing all that stuff is like my fuel. So then every time something's in escrow, I'm like, boom.
Yeah. And I take pride in that too because every time that when he was young and people didn't believe in him, now he's in the news, now he's in the newspaper, now he's getting recognized this. And I love because I manage his Twitter and I put all those things, but it's also a recruiting tool, but it's also, I take great pride in that because he's worked his ass off and I worked my ass off for it. and that's my Lamborghini, you know, just like you said.
Exactly.
You know, so.
And that's why I always say it to our listeners and people listening. It's not just about money, right? Success is, and that's one thing that people have to identify in their own is what is their success.
Yes.
It could be a personal relationship. Like,
it could be.
you know, I see people, I see couples that are really good together, and that's a Lamborghini, because if you can come home every single day and you can share a partnership and you have intimacy with each other and you work towards a common goal, I mean, that's success.
That's success in itself. Or even sometimes I say, you know, if there's a certain situation and, you know, some people may say it's not the best, or a single mom, and they're like, I want to be the best mom for these kids and provide everything that I can to them. And they do that, they're successful. Or if you want to be a fireman, you know, and you accomplish that and you're great at it, you're successful. I mean, there's so much different metrics for success. And it's just identifying what it is to you and sticking to that, and not letting people come in and say, oh, so-and-so did that and they got screwed over, or they didn't like it, or blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, I'm my own person, you know? And that was one thing that I can say I had a lot of when I was transitioning to real estate, because I had a corporate 9-to-5, really good job, full benefits. I could have retired there, and I started young. I could have probably been making, you know, over $100,000 by the time I was 35. Cushy job till I was 60 and retired. Boom. And I was like, no, I'm going to jump in and do real estate. And everyone was like, what are you doing? Like, no, this is crazy. You're so set up for life right now, right?
Yeah.
And I was. I was set up for the basic traditional life, go to corporate job, work the thing, you get benefits. I'll retire at 60, then I'll be relaxed, whatever. But I didn't want that. That was something I knew was not for me. And I had to identify that. But if I wouldn't have, then I would have been living my life for other people.
Yes.
Right. And then all those other people would have passed, and I would have been there at the end of the thing on my deathbed. Like, I didn't even live this life for myself, you know, and I didn't even find my internal happiness. So that's why for people, I'd say, find out what you want in your life for you, what success is, and try to identify what happiness is. And commit it 100%.
Commit to yourself.
Don't let people go in and interfere, because I've had it. And it's like, oh, you know, what are you going to do? And are you sure you're going to branch out and do this? And I don't care. I just say, yeah. And if I fail, I'm going to keep doing it and doing it and doing it until it finally gets right. Obviously, I'm not going to do the same thing over and over.
Yeah.
But I'm going to learn from my failures and keep pushing, because like we said, I think on last week's episode, the last thing I want to do is go and say, oh, I'm a real estate agent. And then it's like, oh, I failed once. And then now I'm an insurance agent. Oh, I failed again. Now I'm a photographer. Now I'm a videographer. Actually, I'm going to go back to school when I'm 40, because I don't know what I'm doing, to try to be an engineer. Don't like engineering school. Then I'm going to go do something else. And then you're 50 or 60 and you're looking back and you're like, what the hell am I? You know what I mean? You didn't master a craft. You didn't stick to it and pay your dues. And that's why you hear a ton of these success stories, and these people say, I failed and failed and failed, and that's why I've succeeded. Because a lot of people don't like it and they jump out and they do something else.
It's called the Barbie syndrome. If you're a female, you're Barbie. You're a male, you're Ken. Barbie, right? And so at the end of the day, you're just, you know, you're never mastering anything. You stick to the one thing. You know, my famous line is stick to the one thing. Guys, we're about to wrap this podcast up, but the main thing is this: commit to your goals, commit to yourself, set the expectations for if you're committing with another individual in your business or personally or friendships. Lay out your commitments and lay out your deal breakers and say, you know what? Be very, very direct and very precise in what matters to you, so the other individual can say, look, you know what? I accept this. I don't, because if you don't set those clear expectations, it's going to be a fucking disaster. And I promise you, it's better to just have the issue up front, have the argument, and move on.com, then you're dealing with a lot more repercussions at the end. So the truth on to next week, guys. I think it was a great cut from last week, and kind of, you know, keeping that on there. So we're out.
Absolutely. We'll see you guys next week.
Yeah, see you guys next week. Have a great New Year. So, let's see, we got one more comment. Let's see, a word.
What do we get, John?
I know what you're gonna get. I just looking at the comments. So.
Harmonix Technologies, your New Mexico business IT solution. With incredible products that will fit your needs both big and small, and unmatched service, it's your vision delivered. Learn how we can help your business roar into action today. Harmonix Technologies, your New Mexico business IT solution.